Morning team. I am back for more on the couch with MFR chats. Today we're going to be talking to Anthony from Awakened Lifestyles. So I'm just going to add him in for you guys. Let me just find him for you. There he is. I'll pop him in. All right, we will just wait for him to jump on. If you guys don't know who Anthony is, you're about to find out. He's a really, really interesting guy. He's got a really, really incredible story. So I will let him tell you all about it. But yeah, it's been really, really interesting getting to know him and to see where he's come from and also what he's created based on his path. And I think to hear where people have come from and understand why, who the hell are they to be a coach or a mentor or any of those sorts of things. So I think once you guys hear Anthony's story, you will understand who the hell he is to actually be giving, advice and coaching people in the space that he's in. So, hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for the intro.
No, you're more than welcome. I'm actually going to let you tell everybody a bit more about yourself. But what I would like to start with is, can you tell everybody something that you are digging at the moment? So me, I'm digging medicinal mushrooms at the moment. I'm digging adding them into my coffee, and I just think they're super cool. It could be a meditation thing. It could be a piece of fitness equipment. It could be a new hat, like something you're digging.
So something I'm digging at the moment is Dave Asprey's latest book, Game Changers.
Cool.
I've been reading it at the moment. I'm actually really into it. Just the whole concept around, just some of the stuff that I've been learning around biology and physiology and how we can, I guess, upgrade ourselves as humans. I'm also on the mushrooms too. I've been having cordyceps daily and lion's mane daily, and I'm into it. Like, I'm actually noticing a difference.
They're awesome. Is there a particular brand that you like at the moment?
Life Cycle is the brand that I'm using. I think they're based in Byron, but they're all Aussie mushrooms that they're using. Yeah, they got recommended by a friend, and they seem to work. I've got nothing to compare it to, but they're good thus far. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I've been using a blend from Super Feast called the Mason's mushrooms, and it's got about like 5 or 6 different types of mushrooms in there. So it's got the lion's mane, the cordyceps. It's got like reishi, chaga, and stuff like that. So you're kind of getting all the stuff, because I started looking at, buying individual mushrooms, and I'm like, I just want them all because there's so many health benefits for each one. Give them all to me.
Well, that's what I was thinking yesterday. I saw a post and there was like the reishi one. I was like, oh, that looks really good. And I'm like, hang on, man, you're not going to line up 5 different mushrooms every morning and squirt it into your little glass of water. So that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, so I get the blend and I just add it into my coffee. So I'll just put like a half a teaspoon into my coffee every morning. Can't taste it. Off you go.
Epic. Nice one.
So I would like you to introduce yourself, please, to everybody and just give everybody a bit of an idea of who the hell you are and what do you even do?
Okay, so obviously my name's Anthony. I'm from Awakened Lifestyles, a company called Awakened Lifestyles. We teach people how to, I guess, live in line with their values and, as cliche as it sounds these days, live their best life. So we help people awaken to their life beyond the story that their mind told themselves for their whole life. That company has been built out of, I guess, my own journey and my own experience of life as a whole, where that's taken me. Like we all, I believe we all have a story. My story features adversity. My story features some stuff in there that's probably a little bit unusual, a little bit different to the norm. But like the longer I've been, living and doing this work, the more I realize we all have a story of adversity and of stuff, and it's what we make that mean that then dictates the rest of our life, right?
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, I suppose a big feature of what I've done was that our company's been built out of initially starting to look, we do what we call inner work. And the reason we do inner work is because I first started my journey and I guess you call the personal development space or the awareness space or the, wanting to be a better human space, looking from the outside in. right? So I was looking to, if I had a better body, I was overweight, you know, I was, you know, obese. And if I had a better body, then I'll be happy, you know, and if I have money, then I'll be happy. And if I have success, whatever that actually means, I'll be happy. And so I started trying to chase down all of those things, and found that, well, it actually, they're not really making me happy. Short term, I feel a little, you know, ego boost, or what we call a shot of value. Short term, I get this little shot of value where, yeah, I'm the man, I did this, or I blah, 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 whatever. But there was no lasting happiness there. So now we do what we call inner work, which is work from the inside out, you know, get in touch with my values and who I am as a human being and live in line with them. Make sense?
Yeah. And look, I totally agree. I feel like everybody has their shit. It's just different shit, but
Exactly.
it's meaningful, and it has created who they are as a person. So, you know, your shit's
Exactly.
different to my shit, but we all have shit
Yep.
that brought us to where we are.
Exactly.
So you used to be Anthony Pure and Lean.
Correct. I was Anthony Pure and Lean.
You were. So tell me about what was Pure and Lean, and how is that different to Awakened Lifestyles, and what was the catalyst for that to change?
Yeah, awesome question. And so we were at Pure and Lean. So Pure and Lean came off the back of my weight loss journey. I lost weight, and then I did the whole typical, now you want to be a PT thing. And the losing weight came off the back of a much larger journey that I'm sure we'll get into. But the weight loss part turned into the PT thing. I was doing PT and getting really good results for my clients. And then I realized, and as I'm sure you know you have yourself, the nutrition played such a critical role in that whole process, you know. And so Pure and Lean was like a nutrition coaching company. And we had dietitians and nutritionists working for us, where we helped people, you know, eat for their ultimate body as a primary goal. Again, like I said, it was outside in. It was about, let's get people lean, let's get people ripped, you know, let's run challenges, which we did really successfully. We ran challenges, national challenges for big chain gyms, and did really, really well there. But what we began to notice was, you know, no one's overweight because they're hungry, you know, and people are eating for more than nourishment. And so I can only do so much by giving you a meal plan, or, you know, giving you a time bound, you know, giving you the science around how to lose weight or how to have the body that you want. That's great. It's necessary and it's excellent. Like it's definitely a critical step. However, if I'm eating for more than just nourishment, then I need to look at my relationship with food, right? So we went from, let's get people really lean because that's what's going to make them happy, to let's get people really lean and help them heal their relationship with food, so they stop rebounding and, you know, yo-yo dieting and going back and forth or being on and off again. To, after a while with that, and that was actually going really well. But for me personally, I was just like, there's stuff that's deeper, you know, it's deeper than just that, right? Like the body that I'm in is a symptom of what's going on the inside. You know, the mindset that I have is a symptom of what's going on the inside. And so we started doing this inner work. So there was a period there where we were like, clients were coming to me to lose weight, they thought, and we were kind of tricking them to go, okay, what's really going on underneath that? Because you're not binge eating chocolate because you're hungry. You know what I mean? And it's not your thyroid. And there is stuff like that. I'm not saying that's a blanket statement, but in some cases, no, it's not that. It's all this other stuff that you're not dealing with. Correct. Right? Like, it's funny, and I don't necessarily agree with this across the board, but I had a doctor say to me once, we were talking about nutrition, and he goes, mate, you know what? I don't see pictures of the Africans, like in Somalia, and, you know, if you're 15 people in the picture, and one of them in the back going, oh, sorry, I'm the one with the thyroid problem. I'm the one with autoimmune disease, you know, the obese one in the back, saying, I'm the one that's big boned, like, you know, or I'm insulin sensitive, or insulin resistant rather, you know. And they kind of hit me and went, so there's more. That sparked, I guess, an interest in looking deeper.
And I think as well, you know, you look at those native populations as well. They're eating their native diet. You know, they're not eating any of the shit that we're eating.
Correct.
They're not sitting there on social media all day feeling terrible about themselves because that guy has abs and they don't. They got bigger shit to worry about, like not getting eaten by a lion.
Yeah. Or they're just happy being happy. You know, they're just busy being happy, enjoying their life, living in the moment.
Absolutely. I went over and did Mount Kilimanjaro a few years ago with my dad and my brother. And
Yeah.
after we did that, we had a week in the Serengeti and the Ngorongoro Crater, and we went to a few Maasai villages. And what I noticed about these people was, for people who have nothing by our standards, they wanted to share everything with you. Share our food, share this, share that. And they were the most joyful people you have ever come across. And you just think, far out, God, we get bogged down in our shit, don't we?
Totally. Yeah. I had a similar experience where I was in Fiji, and this guy had this job, and his job was to take us from the big boat to the little island in a rubber ducky. And he did that all day long, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I remember looking at him, and at first I had pity. I was like, oh, you poor guy, this is your job. You don't understand this awesome life that I have back in Australia, and I have all this stuff, right? And we do all these things. And then I looked at him more closely, and I was like, he looks a lot happier than I do. You know what I mean? He looks like a lot more vibrant and energetic than I'm feeling right now. And I'm supposed to be on this awesome holiday because I'm so, you know, like lucky to be able to do this stuff. And I went, actually, I think I've got it wrong. Correct. Yeah. Hashtag blessed, right? But, you know, and then I was like, actually, I think I'm the one that's got it wrong. Like, he's the guy that's living the dream. He's sitting here driving his little dinghy, and he looks. Sorry if that just cut out.
Stress levels of 0.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so it kind of sounds like Pure and Lean started off as a bit more of a body transformation program that you guys are running. And you can understand why that started, because that sounds sexy. Everybody wants a transformation. Everybody wants an 8-week challenge or a 30-day challenge. Everybody wants to do that because it sounds sexy. And they get to have a before and after photo at the end of it. Doing inner work doesn't sound as sexy.
Hard to sell.
It's something that I think is, I imagine so, but I feel like it's the thing that's actually going to give you lasting results. Because what I heard you say before was that no one's obese because they're hungry. So why are they obese?
Because they're eating for more than nourishment. And this is, again, I'm not saying this is a blanket statement across the entire industry, but for what we see with people that come to us that want to do weight loss challenges and stuff like that, because we're eating for more than nourishment, right? I'm emotionally eating. So what we would label emotional eating is when I'm eating for anything more than my physical nourishment, whether that's happy, glad, sad, bad, mad, whatever. I'm eating to basically either enhance or fix or avoid a feeling, right? And when I do that, I'm probably not going to be in the body that I want.
Yeah, 100%. So you said before that you used to be obese.
Yep.
How did you get to that point? And what was the catalyst for you to change that?
Right. So, I mean, as a kid, I was overweight. Growing up as a kid, grew up in a family where mum is a real feeder. Like, she's of Russian background, Russian heritage. And, you know, I remember distinctly saying to me one time, you know, we're not wealthy and we're not rich, but we eat well, you know, and that was like that was something to be proud of, you know, and that's something I'm really grateful for because we did eat really well. And now I know what nice food is. And anyway, and so we ate really well, and I was overweight. And I guess even at that age, I was learning to do that. Like, I was eating to kind of get better feelings. Like, this is good. This is fun. I want more. Sugar tastes nice. Give me more. More's better, right? And so I was overweight then. Then going through my teens, I was still overweight. I mean, there was a massive, like, decade drug problem there too that, again, I'm sure we'll get to. But if we talk about the obesity thing, it was, I was eating for more than nourishment. And I guess I hadn't been taught to eat. Like, I hadn't been taught that I have this body that tells me when I'm hungry, you know, and then also tells me when I'm full. Like, hunger's not a thought. You know, like, I remember being a kid and seeing a Macca's ad and literally getting angry and saying to my mum, it was like 9 o'clock at night, going, Mum, I'm going to get on my bike, my little BMX, and I'm going to ride to Macca's and buy this cheeseburger. I wasn't hungry. I'd seen the marketing and my mind had told me that I wanted that thing.
Yeah.
Right? The same way it tells me I want a better car or house or shoes or whatever, it told me I wanted that thing. And so now I'm eating for more than nourishment. I'm eating to gain the feeling that I'm going to get when I saw the ad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, totally, massively. Like, you know, and I still can emotionally eat, you know, I still can emotionally, like, we're going to lunch tomorrow with my partner. We've had a newborn child, want to get her out of the house. Like, that's going to be eating for more than just nourishment, right? But I'm doing it in line with my values. I'm doing that in a way that's right for me and us. And I'm using it as a way to experience, you know, pleasant part of life. So I'm not saying let's eat like a robot and just eat just for nourishment and eat your protein, carb, fat, blah, blah, blah. No, but doing it consciously. You asked the question, how did I get to the point to change that? Sadly, and this is what I see with so many clients too, is we normally get to a point where, well, at least I got to a point where it was just what I was doing became so painful that I wasn't willing to do it anymore. You know, like there was just a time where I just went, you know what? I just can't do this anymore. And I'm now willing to do what it takes. And I didn't know what it takes. You go.
But I think that's a catalyst for a lot of people. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't get that. Or, you know, I'm putting on a little bit of weight. I'm getting a little bit fat. I don't feel very well. I'm not very healthy. A lot of people, that is not motivation enough for them to go enough. It takes getting to that very end degree where being in that state is much harder than the change, because the change is hard. You know, the change of 10, 20, 30, however long years of doing a certain behavior and having a habit is really hard to change. And you can't expect to do that in an 8-week challenge. You can't expect that you're going to change 30 years worth of bad habits and ingrained behavior and emotional behavior by doing an 8-week challenge.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just barely scratches the surface.
Yeah. So you've mentioned a couple of times, and I have heard a little bit of your story, but you used to have a pretty impressive drug addiction.
Yeah, if you want to call it that. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How I find the topic of drug addiction quite fascinating. I think for me, because I have always been a bit of a straighty 180. I've never had a cigarette. I've never had drugs. I don't drink very often. So for me, it's one of those things I just think, what happened? How did that happen? What was that like? Like, how did you start taking drugs? And was it something like, oh, all of a sudden I just smoke now, and then I'm smoking pot, and then I'm taking heroin? Like, how does that happen? Because that blows my mind.
Yeah, it's I mean, that opens a really big conversation. But if I just speak from my experience, it was kind of like, as a kid and growing up, I always felt like I never quite fit in, like I never felt entirely safe to be myself. I didn't know that as a child, like I couldn't have articulated that, but that was the experience. And I remember, like, I was starting to, like, in my, I guess, before 10, and then as I turned, you know, double digits and 10 into 12, I was always been a bit cheeky, you know, always been a little bit naughty, always tried to bend rules, you know, push boundaries. And that's an inherent part of my personality. That hasn't changed. It's just in a healthy way now, you know. And so I did that, and I kind of liked pushing the rules. And then I first started smoking, like I first smoked pot, and I just went, wow, where has this been my whole life? Right? I don't know whether it's a genetic thing and I'm not really interested in that conversation, but like for whatever reason, I had it, and I just went, holy shit, I feel great, and I can be myself, and this is just awesome. Like in my mind, I was like, why the hell isn't everyone doing this?
Yeah.
Is how it felt. And so I just began doing it. You know, I believe that sorry?
As an escape?
It wasn't an escape. It wasn't like my life's so shit and everything's so horrible, I need to escape this life. No, like I had a pretty good life. You know, I had a pretty good, like, you know, great life. But it was like, I just want to enhance it. Like, I just want to enhance this feeling. Like, this is amazing. Well, I don't know. I want more of this, right? And so I did. I mean, intrinsic to my personality is I'm kind of all or nothing. Call it addictive personality, whatever you want. So I was like, well, it just makes sense to do this every day. Like, I can now see the insanity in that thinking, but at the time, that just made sense to me, right? And so I just started
Mm-hmm.
doing that every day, and then one thing kind of progressed to the next, to the next, to the next, and like Russell Brand says it really well. He says, you know, at first it was, you know, drugs and a whole lot of fun, you know, then it was drugs with problems, then it was just problems,
Mm.
you know, like, and that was
Yeah.
my experience of it. Like, yeah, you pay a price for all the decisions you make, right? And that just, it started to get tricky, and then got into denial, and then I'm like, it's definitely not the drugs, like it's someone else's fault or something else's fault. And that started to progress, and the drugs got harder, and then the lifestyle got harder, and then all of a sudden I'm like this heroin addict. Does that make sense?
And so when you, yeah, well, no, but it's very interesting to listen to.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't make sense to me because I'm a massive control freak, and the thought of being, for me, drugs, like I won't even drink a lot of alcohol around people who I don't know, because for me that is not a safe place, and I don't like that feeling of being out of control. So I don't understand it, because for me drugs just seem like there is so much lack of control, but it probably doesn't feel like that for the person who's taking them. But from an outsider's perspective, looking at people who have taken drugs, I just think you're out of control. So you're taking heroin, and is that an everyday thing?
Yeah.
And okay, do you have a job at this point? Like, how do you fund this habit? Because I imagine it's not a cheap habit.
It's not a cheap thing to do. So I had some menial work, like working as in like retail and stuff like that, like as a storeman and stuff like that. I had a little bit of work like that. That didn't really last that long. By the time I was in my late teens, that had kind of ended. And I was now, by that stage, kind of resigned to, okay, you're a drug addict. You can't kind of deny this. You're a drug addict now. Like, let's be really good at this. And again, I'm not consciously thinking that, but it was like, okay, you're a drug addict now, so let's make sure that you never run out of drugs, and let's do the stuff that you got to do to support this habit, which is, you know, often crime.
Yeah. And so at that point, were you living at home?
Yeah, I was living at home, at mum's place, and then there was like it's it's difficult to describe, but it's kind of like you wake up in the morning and you go to someone's house, and then you can end up on the other side of town that afternoon, and then you're not home for 3 weeks, and you don't really know how that happened, but that's just kind of the lifestyle, right? Or you're doing really well, and so you have a hotel, and you're living in a hotel for 2 weeks because you don't have the responsibility or the sense to actually go get a lease somewhere. You'll just go live in a hotel for 3 weeks, and then when you get kicked out of there, you go back home.
And did your mum realise? Like, did your mum know?
Look, not for a long part of it. For a big part of it, no, she didn't. But then it started to obviously become really obvious that there was something wrong. And yeah, she did know, and my dad did know. And they, you know, bless them, did their best to help me through that. Like, they really did try to help me through that. I mean, the only person that can help a using drug addict is a using drug addict, you know, like, or himself or herself. So yeah, they did know, but they kind of couldn't do much.
Yeah. So you're in this pretty deep pit of doing something that you're familiar with really, really well. Why did you stop? Like, how did you stop, and why? Like, what was the catalyst for going? Like, I don't imagine you all of a sudden just woke up one morning and thought, I'm not going to be a drug addict anymore.
No. So it starts to get worse. Like I said, it was fun at the start, then it's like fun with problems, then it's just problems. And so life got pretty shit pretty quickly. You know, like, it's the people that you're dealing with, the lifestyle that you're leading. There's a lot of shame attached to it, because after a while you start to go, I really want to stop this, but I can't. You know, and even when I promise myself, like, and there's times where you absolutely swear, and I've spoken to people that have the same thing with food, you know, where you absolutely swear, I'm never doing it again. It's going to start tomorrow. It's all going to change, you know. And in those moments, I believe I'd pass a lie detector test because I was sincere. And then I wake up the next morning and my head just says, you got to go do this thing, right? Like, I got to go do the thing, and I start. And when I do that, you start to just get this shame within yourself. Like, I'm just a failure, you know, I'm just a loser. I'm kind of hopeless. Even when I really want to change, I can't. and your
And was
self-esteem
that
starts to drop.
was it a physical addiction that was making it so hard to stop, or was it just that you were in this habit that you could not break?
So addiction is classed as a disease by the World Health Organization. It's like a disease. So I can't, if I have cancer, I can't just choose to stop having cancer, right? It needs to be treated, you know? And so addiction is the same thing. It's not like when we're talking addiction, it's different to I'm snorting a few lines on the weekend and, you know, feel a bit shit Monday, Tuesday at work. It's like you're fucking balls deep in it, and even on your best, like you want to change and you might cry yourself to sleep over it at night, but you can't. Like the a friend of mine has a good analogy where he says it's kind of like, excuse my language, but he says it's kind of like fucking a gorilla, right? It's over when the gorilla says so, you know? And so you get these kind of moments of, or windows of opportunity where you go, I need to stop this, like, and I'm willing to kind of do what it takes. If you're lucky, you get those moments.
Yeah, and what did it take? Like,
so there's only one thing you need to change, and that's everything. And that's like from the ground up from my life. So I need to stop listening to this mind that keeps telling me that I need to do these things. I need to stop hanging around the people and the places and doing the things that I was doing. I need to do, in the first instance, I need to get help, like, you know, rehabilitation centers, detox facilities, stuff like that is a way to just break it initially, break that initial addiction, you know. That part's, when you're using, you think that's the hard part, right? That's like the 8-week challenge bit, you know, that's the hard part. That's the slog it out. That's not the hard part. That's actually the easy part. The hard part's living after the 8-week challenge. Same thing, right? The first bit is kind of easy. You're on a high, you've got this willpower, but after a while that runs out and you've got to learn how to live life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after all of that process, you get clean, you do your 8-week challenge, and is that the point at which you found fitness, really? Because you were quite into your bodybuilding and things like that.
Yep, exactly. So it's interesting because I always wanted to be fit. I always wanted to lose weight. I always wanted to have a good body. Like it was just something that I wanted, you know? And I could never do it, obviously. Running a heroin habit they don't really go together. And so when I first got clean, I just started training. And if I'm honest, I just put that same obsession that I had into using drugs into exercise. And then I was like, I just remember training multiple times a day and I couldn't sleep, right? I was coming off methadone, and which means you don't sleep for months basically. And so I couldn't sleep. So in the middle of the night, I'd go for runs or I'd go for walks, or I'd be on the internet researching training methods and nutrition and reading books and all this kind of thing. And so I just shifted all my focus into that initially. And
so you swapped one addiction for another.
You could say that. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a
much healthier one.
It is healthier, but there's definitely aspects to it which were harmful to myself, no doubt. Right. And over time, over the years now, it's been about, you know, I guess working that out of myself and restoring more balance and getting really clear, like doing my inner work and getting really clear on why am I doing this? Why am I chasing this goal? Why do I want X, Y, Z? You know, is this actually because I feel like a bit of a loser and I want to prove myself, or is it because I love myself and I want to have a nice body? Big difference.
Yeah. And do you think through the inner work that you've done with yourself, you have learned a degree of moderation in that extreme sort of personality that you had?
I think my inherent nature
depends who you ask.
Exactly. If you asked Eve, she'd say no way. Like, Eve's my partner. If you asked her, she'd say she calls me an extreme sportsman, right? And a lot of my friends are extreme sportsmen, you know, birds of a feather kind of thing. She's like, you just do everything hard out, 110%. And have I found moderation in that? I still do everything hard out 100%, but I don't do it to the point where it harms me anymore. You know, so I don't do it to the point where it affects other areas of my life, or I don't obsess about anything to the point where it starts to really should, affect other areas of my life. So I guess I use it for good these days, and I use it in a healthy sense. And to be honest, I don't really want to be moderate about anything. Like, I'm a pretty passionate guy, and I like being passionate, and I like, putting energy and effort into things that are important to me. So, yeah, it's healthy now though.
And I think maybe moderate wasn't the right word, but more balanced was probably.
Definitely more balanced. Definitely
Yeah.
more balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned that coming off methadone, you didn't sleep for months, and you've just had a baby boy. So
yeah. So we're back there again. Took a decade, and we're back there again. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how old's Axe now?
4 weeks yesterday.
Right. So is there anything that if someone had told you before you'd had the baby, you wouldn't have believed them?
Oh, there's lots of things. Yeah, many. So I used to have clients come to me and they would say, oh, I couldn't get my meal prep done and I couldn't do my morning routine and meditation. I'm really sorry. The baby was playing up. And I would just sit there and be like, you're making excuses. What are you talking about, mate? Like, you just make time. You just make it happen. And honestly, that's pretty much. I was one of those dickheads, literally. And now I kind of get it. I was sitting on the couch yesterday and I'm looking after him and he's trying to catch up on sleep. And I'm like, I got to go to the gym in an hour and I got to have a meal and then I've got to do this work thing and I'm holding him and I put him down. I can't do that because he gets upset and I can't, like, I just physically can't. It took me 45 minutes to eat a bowl of oats. So. Can
I give you a hot tip about that? I see
what's that?
I'll give you a hot tip about being able to eat with a kid that you can't put down. The baby wraps.
Yep.
Wear it all the time, inside, outside. Put the kid in the wrap. They will go to sleep because they're on your chest. You can eat. You've got 2 hands. I can do washing. I can eat food. I mean, you probably will drop a bit of food on the kid's head, but I feel like it's a small price to pay.
Yeah, that's very good advice. I'll give it a go.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
get on board with that.
So that's definitely something that I didn't quite believe or understand, and now I get it. And so now I just have this massive respect for it. I'm just kind of like, how do you guys do this? Like, how do humans do this? It's insane.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Before you have a kid, I think you sit there and you look at parents and you look at the people, whose kids are just losing their shit in the restaurant or something. You're like, I will never let my kid
be that guy. Yeah.
But now you're like, that guy. I am that guy.
Yep. Actually.
Do whatever the fuck you need to get the most amount of sleep. That is the name of the game.
Yeah.
Co-sleep. Have the kids sleep on you. I don't care what you do. Just everybody gets some sleep.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy, isn't it?
It is.
How do you think, or do you think that having a baby has changed your personal relationship at
all? You mean my relationship with Eve?
Yeah.
Okay. It's definitely, there's a definite newfound respect where I'm just like, wow, how is she doing this? Like, actually, this is very, very impressive. This is amazing. And I think there's a new level of consideration for each other and each other's needs. It's still early days, but there's a new level of consideration where I'm like, this is actually a really big deal. I need to be considerate of your needs and what's important to you and vice versa. And she's doing the same for me. With the sleep deprivation, there's definitely more like little sideways hand grenades getting thrown, like the little, and so there's like, the washing hasn't been done or the whatever. It's like we have a little blues, I guess, over the small things. But the interesting thing is that even 2 months ago, that would have been a thing. Like we were just talking about this yesterday, actually, where it's like I can have a little dig, she can have a little dig, but an hour later we're both just like, oh, we were just tired. Sorry, we're just tired, and it's like all good. So that's kind of really nice at the moment, but there's a definite unity because we're raising this human and it's like it's really cool.
You're
Yeah.
both in the trenches. And
exactly.
it's hard, isn't it? But you have that mutual respect for what the other person is going through.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would be like, do you think that you could have a relationship with somebody who hadn't done their own inner work? Because obviously Eve has. Eve's done a lot of work on herself
Yep.
and stuff.
Yep.
And so my thought here is, you've got people who are going through your program and they're doing their own inner work.
Yep.
If they're in a relationship,
Yep.
would it be ideal for the other person in that relationship to also be doing their inner work? Or do you think that that relationship can still, continue successfully if only one person's doing the shit?
This is a really, really good question, Shan, and something that people don't ask a lot. And the short answer is typically what happens is as one person does their inner work, they start to get, we call it, they get more awakened. They're not a better human being. They awaken to a different level of reality and a different, life gets a new richness and it gets more meaning. And they start to understand, their patterns of behavior and how that's held them back and whatnot. And so things start to change for them internally. What matters starts to change. How I show up in the world starts to change. What I accept in the world starts to change, right? So invariably, if I'm in relationship, that's going to affect that. So often we'll get clients where one person's doing their inner work and then the partner is like, oh, wow, they're changing, they're growing. I don't want that. So I'm going to try bring them back, or I'm going to start to throw stones at, you doing your inner work. Or I'm going to step up and do my own inner work, right?
Yeah.
So typically what we see is the person who, and again, just for lack of better language, the person who's more awakened will generally call the other person into doing their work. They're like, hey, I'm on this journey. I'm feeling really good. This is really epic. This is really amazing. Come with me, And so we call that calling them into adult relationship or healthy relationship. And so it works if the other person, accepts and agrees and does that, the relationship deepens immensely, and like they both grow, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. And it's not without challenges, but it's epic, right? It's what relationship was meant to be in the first place, two humans supporting each other to be their best. But if they don't, then that can, it's up to the person, the individual. Some people are still happy to say, hey, I'm still happy. He's my childhood sweetheart. I'm happy to stay with him, and that's okay. And as long as they make peace with that and they're cool with that, I'm happy with that. No one says you have to do it any one way, but yeah. Does that answer your question?
I think it's I think it's really interesting when people, develop a certain level of self-awareness and emotional intelligence, that you start to have, I personally feel like I start to have a very low level of tolerance for people who don't have that, who don't have self-awareness. I just kind of feel like, nah. Friend circles full. No, I can't. Not recruiting. Not recruiting.
Totally. It's that changes. Like for me, that certainly changes. Friendship circle changes. What I value in friendship and relationship changes. What's important changes, and the amount of energy and time I've got to give is limited. So I can't be friends with everyone that wants to be friends with, because otherwise I wouldn't have anything left. Same as yourself is what I'm hearing. Yeah,
absolutely. So your other new baby is your inner work circles. Can you explain to people what they are? Because I tried to explain a little bit on my Instagram stories the night after I came along to one, and I don't think I really did it justice, but I rambled best I could to try and explain it. But can you explain to people what an inner work circle is?
Yeah. So it's funny because you're right. It's actually really difficult to sell. It's really difficult to explain. And it too. And we kind of created them, right? But the whole idea is that for most humans, we feel we live a life where we feel unsafe to be ourselves, or we feel judged by other people or ourselves around us. And as a result, we walk around wearing different masks or living up to different stories. I'm this person in my life or in my job. I'm this person at home. I'm the mother here. I'm the whatever here. And very rarely do we get a space to actually just be us, and talk about what's really real for me, and talk about what's really going on for me, and share the stuff that's going on. And very rarely do we have examples of other people in our life doing that. And so the inner work circle is about creating a space, a safe space for me to just be myself and share and listen to other people who are just being themselves also, right? And so what that actually looks like on a practical sense is turning up and being true to myself and sharing what's real for me, which for most people is really damn scary. You know, public speaking and sharing in front of other people and being vulnerable are like, you know, in the top 5 fears of human. But what people find when they do it, and which you know, I suspect you probably found when you came along, was that we get the connection that we're looking for. We go, oh my God, wow, that person. I'm not the only person in the world that worries what other people think of me. You know, I'm not the only person in the world that has this head that never shuts up. Wow, that's really nice. That's really cool. And then we pick up, I guess, hope for starters, and then ways of being to kind of change that.
Yeah. So you guys have one-on-one tonight. So just to help people understand what that looks like, everybody comes along. You sit in a circle. It's kind of like Fight Club. Nobody talks about Fight Club, and
Correct.
The first rule of Fight Club is never talk about Fight Club.
Correct.
So you're in a safe space where someone's going to share who was there, what you talked about, any of those sorts of things.
Correct.
And you have a topic for the evening. So what was the topic this week?
Topic this week was finding inner strength. In the past, we've done stuff like intimacy, sex, relationships, gratitude, happiness, like literally endless topics, right? But they're generally like personal development / quasi-spiritual topics, or, you know, meaningful topics to all human beings. And so we might have a topic, and then we'll share about, you know, what our beliefs are on that, or what, you know, and that might be drawing from different experts in the field. Every month we get like an expert in, and we get someone in to come in and talk about their story. And then, you know, we kind of, someone shares, and then we open the floor to people, participants. You know, not everyone has to share. If you want to share and you're asked to share, absolutely share. We want to hear from you. You know, we want to hear your 2 cents. And then, like you said, there's no feedback given on that. There's no judgment given on that. There's no, you know, let's ask 10 questions about what you said there. It's like you just get an opportunity to be real and leave it there and not take it home with you. And that's it. And it's really powerful. Like, you can't describe the feeling that people get.
No. And when I came along to the first one that you had, I felt so stressed and so anxious leading up to it, because big groups of people, I'm a bit of an introvert, and I can be an extrovert in certain situations. That I don't like that. I hate small talk. I fucking hate it. It's one of my most despised things. I reached 20-year school reunion, didn't go because I thought, so much small talk, cannot. Just the thought of it makes me feel so anxious. So I thought, no, cannot. So I was feeling pretty stressed about going to this big group of strangers who I didn't know. And so by the time I got there, I was feeling pretty wound up, pretty stressed and pretty anxious, but I also knew that great things were going to happen. So it felt okay to be uncomfortable, because you know there's going to be some magic. And I remember feeling so overwhelmed with the honesty and vulnerability of the people who did share on that particular night. I cried multiple times just listening to people share different experiences that they had had. And I think a part of me crying because I felt empathy for their story and what they had gone through, but also just I cried because I couldn't believe how brave these people were. Like, you have come out the other side of this, and you are a self-aware, emotionally intelligent, strong human being who, you know, is brave enough to share this shit. And it, like, even not sharing myself, you walk away feeling a little bit stronger. You walk away feeling a little bit more capable in yourself and your abilities. So, super interesting. So if people, can anybody come along to an inner work circle?
They can. They absolutely can. So we run them on Monday nights here in the office at the moment. And then, like I said, monthly we get the guest speaker in, so we make a bit of a bigger deal of it. But they can come along. We're just in Albion. Tickets, I'll get you to post a link with tickets if you like. $39 for someone to come along and just for a one-off. And anyone's welcome turn up. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. You might not even get an opportunity to, and that's okay. If you keep coming, you will. But we just encourage anyone who has an inkling that they know there's something more for them, or they've got stuff that they want to, you know, work through, just to come along and give it a chance, I guess, and see what they might find.
Yeah. So I kind of likened it to seeing an AA meeting on a movie. It kind of, to me, felt like kind of what that would be like, is in that nobody is passing a comment on anything. So, you know, you're just jumping up there. I'm Shannon and I'm an alcoholic, and that's my story. There's no questions, there's no interaction, it's just a case of all this stuff that's in here, I'm just going to get it out, and then I'm just going to go sit down. It seemed kind of like that sort of concept to me at its core.
It's very similar. So it does definitely lend from that type of model. So like that 12-step recovery model, it also lends from, you know, women's circles, or in a, like, you know, different type of circles, and lots of Eastern philosophy and spiritual practices. So if you look at a lot of the Buddhists and the Zen monks and all that stuff, they do a similar kind of practice. So it's kind of like a blend of all of them that we've put together to make our own. The one thing I will kind of, and it's a bit kind of, sounds a little bit woo-woo and a little bit spiritual, but it's like I guess our secrets, or the stuff that we carry shame or guilt or uncertainty around, can only ever grow or I guess exist if we keep them secret, you know, if we keep them dark. You know, so if you were to even just take light and dark, for example, like light, if I shine light on darkness, the darkness disappears instantly. Like it can't exist in light, if that makes sense, right? I can't shine darkness on light. It's not possible. Darkness is just simply an absence of light, right? So when I don't share what's going on for me, when I bottle it up, when I push it down, when I keep those anxieties inside or those insecurities inside in the dark, they can grow, right? When I come to Inner Work Circle and I can share that stuff, or I can let it out, that's when the light comes in. And like you said, you leave feeling lighter. I leave feeling clearer. Even if I didn't get a chance to share it, just relating to it, I leave feeling like, wow, you know what? Actually, I can deal with this, right? And it's about, you know, unloading that shit that so many of us keep secret. And you're not broken. We don't need to fix you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about that. It's just about being true to yourself and just getting rid of the stuff that you don't want.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people feel like they're constantly walking around with this, like you said before, a mask or a facade of this person that they should be, or that they feel that there is an expectation on them to be. And I think with social media as well, it's right.
Totally.
You know, there's so much fake shit on social media. It's like there's so many people who, and I just don't follow them anymore, because I just think, you do not bring me joy. I am Marie Kondoing you. Like, you're out. Done.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
You know, it's like those people who, like, you know, you see them on Instagram and they're full face of makeup and everything is so fake. It's like the conversation that they're having was something that they pre-prepared earlier, and it's what they think that people want to hear, and it's so staged. And you just think, not only are you completely unrelatable, but there is nothing genuine or authentic or warm about anything that is happening here. Exactly.
Yeah. And we can, and we're still, you go.
No, you go.
No, you go. You said, I feel like,
you know, the inner work circles and those sorts of things just allow so much for this real, genuine, raw truth, isn't it? And that's so refreshing. It's nice to be able to be around people who aren't pretending to be somebody that they're not.
Exactly. And it's funny, like, the reason we liked social media in the first place, and we have lives, you know, Facebook lives or Instagram stories or whatever it is like, if you look back, Hollywood was always like this unattainable thing that I saw on a movie screen. And then when it moved to social media, it was like, oh my God, I get to actually see their life. I can see what they had for breakfast and what they're doing. And now exactly, it's the actual, you said, for many of us, and I followed a whole lot of people also, because it's like, I'm just seeing this staged version, this edited version, which isn't why I came here in the first place. It lacks that depth, it lacks that authenticity, it lacks that connection. And when I see that now, all I personally see, and it might just be the lens I look through, but what I see is I just see that fear and that insecurity that you don't feel safe to be yourself, mate. You know, you don't feel like it's, and I just have compassion and I just go, wow, it must be horrible not being okay to be yourself. Why? Because I used to do that. I spent a big portion of my life being that guy. And so you're right, the inner work circle is really, because I hate the surface level chat too, and I hate the bullshit, and I hate the, like, I can't stand talking about the weather or the footy on the weekend. Like, tell me what's going on, you know, like, tell me how you really feel. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of like the story on the wall, right? Like, if you don't like your story, then rewrite that shit. Yeah. And so it's about dropping that mask or that story that perhaps my parents gave me or society gave me, or I don't even know where it came from, that I'm supposed to be a particular type of person, and just being who you are. Imagine that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people want to work with you, can they still work with you, or is there other coaches they can work with? Do they have to be in Brisbane? Like, tell me.
No, they don't have to be in person. So with the Inner Work Center is here, or the Awaken Lifestyles HQ is here, and we have offices and we have coaches that people can work with one-on-one. I personally aren't taking any clients anymore. Our coaches are amazing all the time. So we do have a program where you can come in one-on-one and do your inner work. So that's for people who really want to make massive transformation in their lives, both inside and outside, because they're connected. If you just like want to dip your toe in the water kind of thing, I would highly recommend coming to an inner work circle, because that way, you know, there's no, you know, there's nothing to lose really. And so that's certainly something that they can do. You don't have to be in Brisbane if you want to, you know, have a chat with us or work with us. We've got clients literally all over the world that we see via Skype and FaceTime. If you are in Brizzy though, obviously come along here and we can sit down and have a real chat.
Yeah, I feel like the inner work circles would be a really great one for. I remember the night I came along. Your story, like, what's the story you've been telling yourself? And I think for some people, they wouldn't actually have any awareness of what that story is. They wouldn't know what their story is. They wouldn't know where it came from. They wouldn't know why they do the things they do, why they sabotage their relationships, why they do X, Y, and Z. So I feel like the inner work circles could be super useful for people who just want to learn a bit more about themselves and why they do what they do. Hearing other people say those things makes you go, oh, maybe that's why I do what I do. Or it clicks with them. Oh, my mum, dad, sister, brother, auntie used to do that as well. Maybe that's why I do. Yeah.
Exactly. Like we kind of, like Shan, like we kind of say, if you're truly happy and content with your life, like, and I mean truly happy and content with your life, and things couldn't go greater and things are amazing and epic, then you probably don't need to do any work on yourself. Like, keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? But if there's a part of you that knows there's something more, or that I'm somehow unfulfilled, or that this particular area of my life I can't get right, whether it's my relationships or my weight or my work or my career or my passion or my purpose or whatever, if there's something that's not quite right there, then chances are, if you look inside yourself by doing inner work, you're going to come up with an answer. So if for anyone who has that in any area of their life, that would be someone I'd recommend coming along.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. We might leave it there.
Thank you, Shan.
So much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I will link to all the links at the bottom of this as well, and then once it goes up on YouTube, I'll put all the links in there as well, so everybody knows where to find you, as well as your Facebook, Instagram, all of that sort of jazz.
Awesome. Shan, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure. And thank you for the work you're doing also. You know, here from Sex. It's very important. It's big work.
Yes. Hopefully. No bullshit.
No bullshit. See you, mate.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.